You might be in a unique situation, but when it comes to investing and maximizing your returns, there's nothing unique about that. All you need to do is follow the framework presented in this video and you will start seeing traction faster, and you will also have a clear path to follow and get closer to your goal. These are actionable steps that anyone can take regardless of where they are in their investing career. By the end of the video, you will know what makes more sense for you, and you will be better prepared to actually start investing and getting the most gains from your investments, making each dollar count. This is Olo Media, I'm your host, and just like you, I had questions about how to get started investing and how to make sure I took the right steps to maximize my returns and at the same time avoid mistakes along the way. I followed many people's advice, but it seemed like I was stuck, not progressing, and consistently making mistakes. So instead of listening to other people's advice, I started to learn how to actually invest and evaluate what was working for me and having the biggest impact on my investments. Today I'm going to share with you what I've learned and what I found to actually be the fastest way to progress and see actual results. With this approach, I was able to build my investments and retirement accounts to over $200,000, starting from zero. And I accomplished that in just 5 years, making less than $75,000 a year. But that was just the start. Now, here's the framework. The framework is split into 3 phases. Each phase represents a different level of earnings or income. But you need to complete one phase before you move on to the next phase. But keep in mind, this works for anyone, regardless of their income level. After we discuss each phase, we will also discuss some misconceptions and fears that most people deal with before they start investing. These are the usual reasons people don't even start investing. But more on that later. Let's start with phase number 1. Part 1 of phase 1 is to take advantage of your employer 401k and whatever they match. For most people, a 401k is the best or only exposure they get to the market, which could be fine, but a mistake that many people make is that they don't even contribute enough to maximize the employer match they could get. If your employer's 401k has a match, please find out what percentage they actually match and make sure you're investing enough, at least enough, to capture the whole match. If it takes 3% to get the full match, then invest 3%. If the number is higher, then even better. But make sure you are taking advantage of that match and maximize it, whatever the number is. It's literally free money. Sometimes that free money equals 100% gains on day one. If your employer matches dollar for dollar, then that's definitely 100% gain from day one. If you're not putting money into your 401k already, contact your employer right away and find out how to get started. This option is the easiest way to get started, and all you have to do is enroll, and it's basically a said and done. It's all done automatically for you. Now, part 2 of phase 1. Once you have your 401k going and you're maxing out your employer's match, now you need to start saving 10% of whatever your take-home income is. Simply multiply your check by 0.1, and that's the amount you need to save each time you get paid. Now you know your amount. Next, go to your bank and open a high-yield interest account and start depositing that amount each time you get paid. I would suggest automating this by contacting your payroll provider or admin, ask them to split your deposit and send that 10% amount into that account that you created on the high yield interest account directly, automatically. This money will be saved into that account until you have reached enough to cover 3 months of your living expenses. This includes things like housing, food, transportation, medicine, and basic bills. Once you reach 3 months worth of living expenses, the added money will be used for phase 2, so stick with me. Before we get to phase 2, this is part 3 of phase 1. Now you need to pay off high interest debt. Many people, including advisors and professionals, will tell you that you should pay off any high interest debt before you start investing or saving. But in many cases, including my own experience, that doesn't usually work. What ends up happening is that you work on paying off that debt, and during that time, you never actually saved or invested any of your money. And after you pay it off, now you feel like there has been no progress, and the only thing that you have to show for is that you pay off a debt that you didn't even see that money anyways. Since the only thing you have accomplished up to that point is paying off a debt for money that you already use, you feel like you haven't even moved the needle or made any progress. On top of that, and I think more importantly, is that all of that time that it took you to pay off that debt, you didn't build a habit of actually investing or saving. So here's my approach and what worked for me. I put money into my 401k, done. I saved 10% of my check each time I got paid, done. And I made adjustments in other areas of my budget to make sure that I had enough to pay off or pay down that debt. Every time I tried a different way, I ended up discouraged and never actually started investing. So that would be my recommendation. Once you have phase 1 locked in, it's time to move on to phase 2. Now, the next step would be phase 2. Open and fund an IRA account. Once you are able to maximize your 401k contributions enough to capture the whole employer's match, it is time now to graduate into the next level when it comes to investing in your retirement. An IRA account, or individual retirement account, is a type of investment account that allows you to buy shares into companies or groups of companies, and the growth in this account can then later be used during your retirement. Some of these accounts have tax advantages like the traditional IRA, and others are designed to be funded by money that's already been taxed, like a Roth IRA. So basically, a traditional IRA, you put money in and you don't pay taxes on the money that you're putting in, so it's a pre-tax contribution, but then you will have to pay taxes on the money you take out during the retirement. A Roth IRA is that account that you fund with money that you already pay taxes on, and the benefit is that once you take it out during retirement, you don't have to pay taxes on any of those gains. These accounts have limits on how much money you can put in each year. So make sure you double check before you open or dump all your money into any of these accounts. When trying to decide which account should be best for you, make sure you consult with a professional. The point is that you should open one, fund it, and start investing. Make sure you don't forget to actually invest that money that you put in there. Moving on to part 2 of this phase. Invest using a brokerage account. Once you open an IRA account, you'll probably use a platform like Schwab's or Robinhood or even your local bank. At the same place, you should also have access to opening a regular brokering account. This brokering account is where your 10% that you are saving from your paycheck will go after you have funded your 3 months worth of living expenses. But now, instead of the money sitting in a high yield interest account, it will go to fund your brokering account. Once the money is in your brokering account, you will be able to buy shares from companies or groups of companies by using ETFs and index funds. In my case, I aim to keep my exposure or my risk diversified or low, so I choose to invest in diverse ETFs or index funds. And here or there, I would invest in companies that I really like and that I believe in. But your situation might be different, so consult a professional before you make any decisions. But in general, these will be safe investments that should allow you to diversify your risk. Now, part 3 of phase 2 is if you have access to a health savings account, make sure you fund it. Contribute to an HSA if you have a high deductible health plan. According to healthinsurance.org, the average deductible in 2024 has been $1,787 for individuals. And according to the IRS, a high deductible is anything greater than $1,650. So most people are in a high deductible category. So it is easy to see why a high deductible could become a massive expense that could impact your financial stability and your progress to your goals. On top of being there for your peace of mind, these accounts are also tax advantage accounts, which help you save some money on taxes most of the time. And also this money is invested into markets and your money starts to compound and grow tax-free. Now, we are moving on to the major league. Let's talk about phase 3. Phase 3, part 1 is invest in real estate. Real estate is easily one of the investments that you will see in any major list or recommendation from experts of an asset that should be part of everyone's portfolio that wants to get ahead, and for good reason. Without going into all the details and reasons why real estate is or has been and most likely will be a preferred way to invest, it is so attractive because of the nature of the actual investment itself and the proven performance over the years. Like basically any investment, real estate also has risks, ups and downs, and it is not as passive as most people make it seem. But real estate, in one way or another, is always on top of the list of assets owned by the rich and people that are becoming rich. Real estate as an asset offers many tax advantages, price appreciation, and most of the time recurring revenue. People can get started in real estate by investing in things like REITs, which people can buy using a brokering account like they will buy any kind of shares for any company, or investing in starter homes for rentals. Real estate as an industry is a beast that has many opportunities for all levels of investing. Now, let's move on to part 2 of phase 3. Start or invest in a business. If you want to really take your investing into the next level, you need to consider investing in starting a business or investing in an existing business. Business itself is not a for sure way to get rich, but the vast majority of people that became rich became wealthy and rich by starting a business. Depending on your skills, passions, and goals, there's always a way to monetize a solution to a problem. So figure out what solution you could bring to a problem and turn that into a business. Or, like I said, invest into an existing business that aligns with your passion, skills, or goals. Now, part 3 of this phase. Once you have covered all the other steps, this is an optional step, which is riskier investments. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into this one because risk is relative, and what I perceive as risky might not sound as risky to you, and vice versa. But at this step in this phase, people can usually start investing a portion of their portfolio into riskier investments. For some, that might be investing in new technologies or crypto or art or vintage pieces or watches. It really depends on what you perceive as risky and what your passions and goals are. Once you have all the other steps in this framework covered, then and only then you should venture into riskier investments. Now, here are 4 misconceptions and fear that stop many people from actually starting investing. Number 1, I need to pay off my debt before I start investing. We discussed this one earlier, but the point is that you should be investing and able to invest even if you have debt to pay off. This will allow you to create the habit of actually investing and allow your investments to spend more time growing in the market. Number 2, investing is risky and stressful. Even though investing does have risk, in the long term and a diversified portfolio, investing has basically always proven to be easy, with little risk, and even predictable. Focus on automating your investments and buy into diversified assets and you should be fine. Remember, investing is for the long term. Number 3, investing is complicated. Investing is not as complicated as people think. You open a broker account, which is free, or an IRA, which is free, or even your own 401k, and you start buying into ETFs and index funds. Set it up to be automatic, and it's basically a set it and forget it type of transaction. Number 4 will be, I don't make enough money to invest. If you make any money, you should be investing a portion of that money. Ideally, 15% of your total income should be invested. Whatever the amount is that you earn, you should be investing 15%. This is the framework that works for me and found out that works for many people. I hope you find value in this video. Please like and subscribe, and let's grow together.